Hello, Year 9. I thought I'd do a follow-up video from Mr. Mallard's options video, specifically related to GCSE PE and BTEC Sport, the differences between the two and which course might suit you if you're choosing a PE examination option. Obviously, we've got myself, Mr. Warren, Mr. Whedon, Miss Molstat, Miss Parker available via email if you have any questions that you might have about the two courses. Then obviously drop us a line at any point. But hopefully this video should take you through most of the information that you'd have any questions to. So I'm just going to share my screen. So PE next year in year 10 and year 11. If you decide to pick a PE option, either GCSE or BTEC Sport, you will have 6 lessons with either of those. So you'll have 6 lessons of GCSE or 6 lessons of BTEC, plus additional 2 lessons of core PE that everybody will do. Okay, a bit like you have at the moment. So whether you pick an examination course for PE or not, you'll still have your 2 hours of core PE per fortnight. If you pick an examination course, you'll have 6 lessons on top of those, so 8 lessons in total. I'm going to go through the GCSE PE course first. One of the best people to speak to about these courses is if you've got any brothers or sisters or friends in older year groups that are currently doing the courses. They're a really good source of information for you as well, because they're the students that are actually doing the courses. Okay, and just to make it clear, you can't pick GCSE PE and pick BTEC Sport. Okay, you can't be credited for both those courses, so you can only do one or the other if you want to do one of the PE courses. So starting with GCSE PE, how we'll break it down on your timetable is you'll have roughly 4 lessons of theory per fortnight and 2 lessons of practical per fortnight for most of the year. Now we have to be flexible depending on what your curriculum timetable looks like, because you might be up against Key Stage 3 classes and facilities might not necessarily be available, and also might depend on what we're covering in class at any one time. So we're going to be broadly looking at 4 lessons of theory, which will be in a classroom, and 2 lessons of practical, which will obviously be using some of our practical facilities. Occasionally it might be 5 lessons and 1 practical. All right, so that might just be flexible over the course of the 2 years. All right. The reasons behind that are that 60% of the course is theory. Okay, 30% of the course is practical, and 10% of the course is a piece of written coursework, which I'll come on to at the end. So I'm going to start with the 30% of practical. All right, most people pick a PE course because they like doing PE and they like the practical. So I'll start with that bit first. So for the GCSE, you'll be assessed in 3 sports. Okay. Now we cover a lot more than 3 sports in school, because obviously within any one class we'll have a variety of different sports specialities as such. Now on those 3 sports, one of them has to be an individual sport, one of them has to be a team sport, and one of them has to be a free choice, okay, which could be an individual or a team. So you could do 2 individual and 1 team, or 2 team and 1 individual. These are the sports that we will cover in school, okay, for both the team and the individual. So we'll do football, we'll do badminton, we'll do cricket in the summer, we'll do handball, there'll be netball and rugby union for team sports, and individual sports we'll do athletics, badminton, trampolining and tennis. Those sports we do in school because they're the ones that we have the facilities for. You'll note we don't have swimming on there, for example, because we don't have a swimming pool. So depending on the makeup of the class, okay, we may or may not drop one of these. So for example, class, I've not got any people that play tennis, then we won't obviously spend a block doing tennis in the summer, because we haven't got anyone that's necessarily going to be examined in it. Okay, but mostly all the others, a bit the same with cricket really. We will definitely do football, badminton, handball, netball, rugby athletics. Badminton comes twice, and and trampolining, and you'll do all of those and you'll be given an assessment in all of those. Okay, now some of you might do some sports outside school where you'd still be expected to carry those sports on, but we can still assess you in them through video evidence. So one example might be boxing. If you're a boxer, you can do that outside school, and that's one of the individual sports. It can be filmed and then submitted as evidence that we would then mark. So here is a list on the left here of all the team sports that you could do. Obviously, some of these outside school, and on the right-hand side here, all the individual sports that you could do. Now, there are some that you'll notice are twice. So badminton, for example, can be assessed as a team sport and an individual sport. So can tennis, so can table tennis, so can squash, of the racket sports. We predominantly would be assessing you as an individual in those sports. We haven't really come across anyone that's a specialist doubles badminton player yet. Occasionally, someone might come along at one point, but the racket sports we predominantly assess as an individual. You can't be assessed in both. You can't be assessed in badminton as an individual and as a team in doubles. Okay, so you can only do that once. Same as you can't be assessed in rugby league and rugby union. So there's a few combinations which you can't do. In athletics, you're assessed in one individual event. So it might be the long jump, or it might be 100 meters, or it might be a javelin, it could be a throw. If it's something that you do outside school, like pole vaulting or hurdles, for example, then we'd treat that like an outside activity sport, and we'd video you doing that. Okay, so common ones you might see here that people do outside school: skiing. Okay, people that go on holiday, February half term or Easter, and are regular skiers, that can get filmed. We'll give you all the information and advice on how to get that filmed, if excuse me, if that relates to you. Swimming is another fairly common one. What's really important is that if it's a sport that you do outside school, it's a sport that you do regularly and are competing in outside school. Okay, so golf, for example, if we were to enter you for golf, it'd be someone that plays golf regularly, has a handicap, maybe a member of a golf club, not someone that's been to the driving range with their dad a few times and hit a few balls on the driving range. Okay, that's not something we'd be looking at. Similarly, swimming, most students can swim, but when we're looking to assess someone in swimming, it's someone that is a member of a club, competes. Okay, not someone that just occasionally goes swimming with their friends at the weekend. Okay, so that's the practical. Again, that's 30% of your final grade. So not a high percentage of your final grade is based on your practical ability. Okay, I'm going to move on to the theory. All right, this is the section really that kind of make or breaks your grade. So 60% is made up of 2 written exams at the end of year 11. One of them's an hour and 45 and one of them's an hour and 15. And combined, they'll make up 60% of your final grade. This is not an easy option. Something I have to say every single year to year 9 students is PE is not an easy option. Okay, the theory is complex. Okay, I think Mr. Mallard has already said that it really helps if you're a good biologist, because the amount of anatomy and physiology we have to go into, and the number of complex words that are involved with that unit, it really does help if you've got a good grounding in biology. So the topics that we do over the course of the 2 years are anatomy and physiology, so that's your body systems. So we look at your skeletal system, your bones, your joints. We look at your muscular system. We do the respiratory and the cardiovascular system, so your heart and your lungs, and we look at all the effects that short-term effects of exercise has on those systems. So like when you start exercising, what happens to your heart, what happens to your breathing rate, and we look at the long-term effects of doing regular exercise, how that benefits your body systems, and link those all into different sporting examples. So that's one topic. We've got another topic called movement analysis, which is kind of like the physics of sports movement. We look at levers and planes and axes. We've got personal training, which is how athletes become good at their sport. So what training they need to do, what components of fitness do they require for their sport. We have a topic on sports injuries and a topic on performance enhancing drugs and why athletes might take performance enhancing drugs in order to win. 3 more topics: health and health. So we look at diet, physical, emotional, and social health. Clearly, really important at where we are in lockdown at the moment, and the importance of getting out and doing exercise, not only for your physical health, right, but also for your emotional, mental health, and your social health. Social health obviously a little bit more difficult at the moment. We look at sports psychology. So this is like the mental side of sports performance. And we look at socio-cultural factors. So what impact things like what gender you are, or how old you are, or what ethnicity you are, what barriers might be put in place for you to be able to take part in sport. And then lastly, we look at the commercialization of sport through media and sponsorship, and what deviance, why people cheat in sport, and what different forms of deviance there are in sport. So quite a large area. I haven't got a folder here for you, but students would usually fill a lever arch folder full of notes over the course of those 2 years in preparation for their exam. There is some statistical and data analysis, which very sort of linked to math, so it's graphs, analysing graph data, stuff like that. Okay, and then lastly, you have a personal exercise plan, which is 10%, and this takes the form of a written piece of coursework where you plan a 6-week training program to improve one of your 3 sports, or to improve a component of fitness for one of your 3 sports. So it might be to improve your strength for rugby, or to improve your cardiovascular fitness for netball, or your power for shot put, or something like that. Then you implement that 6-week training program. So you actually take part in the 6 weeks training program. So it might be doing some work in the fitness suite, or some continuous training around the sports field. And then you evaluate how well it went, okay, using some fitness test data that you'll carry out as well. So that's the GCSE course. It is quite an academic course. Really importantly, you need an interest in sport, and you need to be able to be playing sport regularly, watching sport, have an interest in current events in sport. Okay. If you have any further questions on the GCSE course, then by all means, please email me with any questions, or get in touch with me and I can answer some of those for you. The other course that we offer is BTEC Sport. Very similar. Oh, I've just noticed I've got an error there. Cut and paste there. I'm just going to change that quickly. You'll have 6 lessons of BTEC Sport over a fortnight and 2 lessons of core. So this is different because it's a vocational course. It's not so based on academic testing at the end. So you'll progress through the course over the course of 2 years, getting credits for it as you go through, rather than waiting till the end of year 11 and having a written exam like many other traditional GCSEs. So you'll be graded for each of the 4 units that you cover, with a pass, merit, distinction, or a distinction star, much like Mr. Mallard described in his video. So the 4 units that are covered in BTEC Sport, the first unit is fitness for sport and exercise. Now, this is the examination unit. So 25% of it is an examination. You're taught the theory through a range of practical lessons and classroom-based lessons. Okay, but there aren't any assignments as such for this unit. You'll sit an online exam in a computer room at the end of year 10 in usually about June. There is an opportunity to take a retake if that's not so successful later on in the course. Okay, so that's 25%. The fitness for sport and exercise unit is a bit like topic 3 in the GCSE, where you'll be looking at different components of fitness that are important for different sports people. You'll look at different training methods that different athletes might use, whether that's a continuous training method, or an interval training, or a weight training session. You'll probably get to have a go at those training sessions to see what they're like, and look at different sort of fitness testing that's required for different sports athletes. Okay. Unit 2 is the practical unit. So this is slightly different from the GCSE PE, because you're not directly assessed on how good you are at those practical sports. Okay, you'll do 2 sports. You'll do an individual sport and you'll do a team sport, and you'll be assessed through assignments on those practical sports. So it says here there's a rules and regulations assignment. So what are the rules and regulations of football, for example, or badminton? What are the different roles and responsibilities within that sport? You'll look at things like footballers having referees and fourth officials and assistant referees that are now called assistant referees, not linesmen. You'll look at the different practical skills that you'll need for those sports and evaluate your strengths and weaknesses in those skills within that sport. Okay, so you're not directly assessed on how good you are at football. You're assessed through assignments on those different areas within football. Unit 3 is applying the principles of personal training. Now, this is very much like the coursework element of the GCSE that I've just explained. So you'll do a personal exercise program where you'll plan a training program, you'll complete that training program, and then you'll evaluate how well it went. This is very similar to the PEP that we do for GCSE. And then the last unit is a leading sports activities unit. So this is, we'll look at the different attributes that make up good sports leaders. So, for example, Carlo Ancelotti, the Everton manager, is obviously an amazing sports leader. What is it that makes him such a good sports leader? And then what you're going to do is plan some sports sessions of sports of your choice. You'll then lead those sports sessions. That might be to people within your class, or it might be to a group of year 7s, if we can do that at the same time, if you're on at the same time as a year 7 class, not a whole class, just a group of students. And then you'll review how well your sports session went. Okay, so it's a little bit different, and there's different units within the BTEC. If you have any questions on the BTEC, again, email myself or Miss Molster about it, and we can sort of help you answer any of those questions. If you've chosen one of the courses that we don't really feel is probably suitable to you being as successful in that course, then we'll have a conversation with you about that as well. Okay, both courses use the Everlearner website to help supplement the work that we do and any information and theory that you might be taught in lessons. So I'm going to stop sharing there. I hope that's useful. If any parents have got any questions, then just drop us an email and I'll answer any of those.